to stop treatment or to stop dialysis, to stop doing those things that they've always done. Same thing with the DNR conversation. There are some hospices that say you have to be a DNR before you can go on to hospice. But what we found is that that conversation doesn't necessarily come on the first time you meet them. It might take a month to gain their trust to be able to have that conversation. So we want to be able to be there with them and help them make that decision and help them have those conversations about what do you want to do. Because that's not easy. Talking about, do you want to get treatment or do you not want to get treatment? Do you want to go through CPR? We do a lot of education about CPR, sometimes to as graphic as we can get, so that we can get our patients to understand that it's not like in the TV show ER, that it doesn't work like that. I'm sure you guys, if you do it, you know that. It's not a pretty picture, and in most cases it doesn't work out the way that they think it's going to work out. Most of my patients that say, well, I want to be a full code because I want to live as long as I can. And so we have to explain to them we have to ask them, what does living look like? Because most likely if you're a COPD patient that's 90 pounds and you start pumping on their chest, they're not going to come back to the previous functioning level. They're going to be at a much lower functioning level. And so we have to try to do some of that education to help them get to that point so we can have DNRs. We tell our families to put their DNR on the refrigerator. Is that where you guys still look? Is that
Yep,
okay?
absolutely.
So sometimes some of our patients say, well, the refrigerator isn't accessible, and we'll say, well, then post it on your front door, if they want to do that.
Or somewhere near the patient.
Right, or on their bed, or above their head of their bed, and so we do tell them that. Do you guys ever look at advanced directives or anything like that, or like?
Generally, what we have to work with the state DNR form.
Okay.
Advanced directives we can take into consideration depending on what's going on, but it's not an absolute.
Okay.
We still have to follow whatever protocol we're under, and then what's going on with the patient.
Okay. So, and technically, I mean, the DNR is signed by a physician, so it's an order, whereas the living will and stuff is not an order from the physician. Do you ever have families where there's a DNR listed, but the family says, no, we want them to have all that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And how do you guys handle that?
It is the DNR overrides.
Yeah.
DNR.
Unless the patient themselves
Can say.
says no.
Was this shift that we went to 10:30? They said the patient was passing, but the family wanted.
Yeah, we went next door. I don't know if it was I was on the truck when we had that.
What was the deal with that?
I don't think the family liked the care that she was getting there. They said they argued that she had bed sores and she wasn't getting turned enough. And I think the main thing was they were upset with the care that they perceived she was getting there.
Was she in a
wasn't
rut?
passing?
No.
Oh, okay. That's what the dispatch said.
Yes, that's what the dispatch message came over. We're kind of like, okay, well, why are we here? Is there hospice involved? These things are going through our minds. And we get there and find out, well, the son was there. I called my dad, and we want her out of here. Okay,
So
then.
they call you for that?
Yeah, everyone.
And so what do you guys do? Transport her to a hospital? Or?
It's our only
Well,
choice.
first we
if
get the
would.
story, and then we're like, okay, you guys don't like her care being here. Who is the power of attorney? My dad, okay, he called, he wants her transported. Okay, then we'll go to the hospital.
And then the other one that recently, one of the shifts had, I don't think it was this one either, but they got there and everybody's waving a DNR form, but it was a blank DNR form. It hadn't been signed. So.
Well,
Now,
that's not good.
Do you look at them to see if they're filled out in their entirety? Like, do you?
We
If
try.
they're signed
Could I
and
have
dated.
somebody
Is it just
that
sign and
has
date?
their
Make
car
sure that-
parked right next to my window, come move it, either the Cadillac SUV or the Honda Accord.
Figures it's those two.
It's back in the week.
You gotta ask her why.
They're vacuuming leaves.
Oh,
Oh.
They're backing in with
So once again, if someone is parked right in front of my window, please come move your car so they can do the leave thing.
it's interesting that you guys have that, we have that issue happen a lot, where we have the patient who signed a DNR 6 months ago, but then the daughter or the son from Florida comes in to visit, and they said, well, mom wouldn't want to be a DNR even if she signed it. She wants to live, and so that's a struggle for us too, to try to educate that, once the patient says they want to be a DNR, they're the only ones that can revoke it. Just because you're the power of attorney doesn't mean you can revoke that. And our frustration sometimes is the hospital systems don't always do it that way. I think they cave a lot to what the family desires, so we found some patients where they haven't, we won't switch it, and then they'll end up at the hospital and they'll switch it back to a full code. So we run into that some. We also run into if a patient goes to the ER because they broke a hip and they end up getting it repaired. You have to be a full code to go into surgery, and then when they come out, they're still a full code. So we miss some of those sometimes when they go back home. We have to be really diligent to make sure we get those code status changed back to a DNR once they go back home too, because that's something that happens, sometimes. We have families that lose them all the time. When you can't find a DNR, what do you guys do?
We have to go with the most conservative treatment, which is treat the patient.
Transport.
So we're trying to do a much better job at that too, and maybe putting 2 and 3 copies in the home, because we don't want them to have to be taken to the hospital if they truly were a DNR. We've had that happen a couple times where we've had patients that end up being coded that really were DNRs and they didn't have the code status in the house. And so we're trying to work really hard at carrying those with us. So in case they have issues like that, that they have extra ones. Our patients go to respite, they go to nursing facilities for a few days and they come back home, and we send them with the ambulance every time they go so that they have a copy of it. Well, then when they come back they don't have one. So we're trying to do better at keeping those in the home. And I would always say, it's always better to, we try to overdo rather than underdo, because we want to make sure that everybody has what they need. Anybody can refer to hospice. You don't need to be a physician to refer somebody to hospice. If you're if you're at the same home every week for the same issue and frequent falls and weight loss and CHF and all of those disease processes, if you're seeing that, then I don't know what your guys' capability is, but anybody can make a referral to hospice. Anybody can call and say, this patient looks like they might be eligible for hospice. And then we do the digging and the checking and calling the physicians to find out actual eligibility. But we have family members call, we have friends call, we have churches that call, and then we start doing some checking in. But it's our job to do eligibility, not anybody else's. So if you guys see that, and ask the families, maybe you need to call, maybe now's the time to call hospice.
What would you consider let's say if somebody had a DNR comfort care, and it's 2 years old, and that's the only one they ever signed. Would you consider that recent signed, even though it's, 2 years later?
There's no expiration date on
There
that.
is no, okay.
There's
There's
no
no
expiration date on
expiration
DNR
date.
now. When we first started talking about them years ago,
Yeah,
we were taught they had a year expiration.
year.
And I don't know if that was actually part of a state law or not, but that is no longer part of it. They have no expiration date.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, there's absolutely no, we have people that have advanced directives like Living Will's power of attorneys that are from 1980, 85, 87, that are more, they're not the same booklet we have nowadays, but we honor those because there is no expiration date. As long as it's not been chicken scratched or changed, or, we have some people that will write on their DNR and we're like, you can't do that. Like, you can't put what your wishes are. Don't do this, do this. You can't write that on your DNR. And so sometimes I'll have families or a patient redo it if they've written stuff on it. Our instruction has been, if it's been written on from like the hospital, because the hospital setting, they can write different things on there as orders to follow, but in the home you can't do that. So sometimes you'll see, I'll see come from the hospital, no intubation, or they'll write something on there. Well, then when they come home, they're voided. We have to redo them once they get back into the home. But yeah, we don't look at expiration and for any